Coming up on this episode of the Spiro Podcast. For me, what I look for first is personality and their ability to interact well with our clients, right? Realtors rightfully so, very picky on who they choose to be parts of their team, and those people have to represent them well in a job. I feel like basic real estate photography, we can teach composition and the technical skills, things like that. But personality and the ability to get along with other people, that's a little bit more challenging.
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magrum.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a software platform. It's designed to help you not just run your day-to-day business, but ultimately help it scale and build and be efficient. We want to see you succeed with the tools we've been able to develop for our real estate media business. I'm Craig Magrum. Welcome to the podcast. Along with me each and most every week, one of us is here, Todd Kivimaki, owner and founder of Spiro. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you all for tuning in. It's great to be here with you. This is a fast summer. If you're listening to this en route, is a fast summer. And for us, it's just the edge of August here, Craig, which I can't believe another summer is gone.
Yeah, it's Tony, my new photographer, my market, and I were just discussing this. It's just about the passage of time and how the older you get, the faster it seems to go. And so our new photographer, who we're going to be talking about today, she's 24 years old, and I just turned 50. Talk about a generation gap, Todd. I'm feeling it.
You learned some new lingo, Craig, some new phrase. Well, you learned those from your kids.
Yeah, kind of. But Tony and I had a really fun exchange back and forth on the way home from our last job 2 days ago, where we exchanged music that we like.
Okay.
So I'd pick a song, something maybe I didn't think she was familiar with, half of which she was, some of it she wasn't. And then she'd share some of her music. Todd, I listen to K-pop. She's like, "Can you endure it?" I'm like, "It's only fair." I'm sharing my music. We're going to go back and forth. So yeah, I listen to K-pop and like, interesting. But that all to go to say, I read an article about how the older you get, the passage of time seems to go faster. And what researchers think they have discovered is it's related to anchor points in our life. When we're younger, we have these certain anchor points or momentous occasions that we're looking forward to, like, turning 13, becoming a teenager, turning 16, getting your driver's license, turning 18, being an adult, turning 21, you can legally drink, things like that. And so the anticipation of hitting those points seems to make time go slower. It takes forever to get there. However, the older we get, the fewer of those points we have, because we're just in our daily grind of life and work and whatnot, and we don't have as many of those momentous occasions that we did when we were younger. And so when you don't have those markers, those time markers in your life, it's hard to measure, and time just seems to go quicker because you don't have as many of those. I thought, that's an interesting uptake.
That makes sense. The first thing I think of is we just need to create some momentous event of, like, when you turn 52, you should get something, and then like 58, and just so on and so forth, so that we can continue those items.
Yeah, there we go. We just have to be intentional about creating those moments in life.
So. Yeah, and not like at 52 you get back pain.
Right. Right. That already happened. What are you talking about? Wait. No, never mind. Anyway, I've had some interesting discussions with our new photographer, and we're going to talk a little bit more about new team members and training them. That's going to be our topic today, stories from the field. But before we do so, Todd, what's going on with Spiro? What's up?
Yeah, so Spiro Sync tickets are officially on sale. Please get them. Many of you have purchased them already. Spiro Sync is our conference that we do in January. It's in Cincinnati, Ohio this year. It's a 2-day event. It's going to be a fabulous time. You're going to come, you're going to learn, you're going to socialize with others, you're going to leave with more people in your phone book, and we're going to have some fun at the same time. So we would love to have you be our guest there. It is kind of an all-inclusive event. You're going to fly in, you can Uber up to the airport. We're going to eat there, we're going to learn there, we're going to play there. We're feeding you most every meal. Spiro Sync tickets you can find. Just go to spiro.media, click on the Spiro Sync banner. Please get them fast. If there are any VIP tickets left, I don't know that there are, but you're going to want to act fast. And also on tickets as well. So we do have a hard limit of what we can sell. And once we hit that, the fire marshal says we can't have anybody else in. So Spiro.media, please click the Spiro Sync button and get your ticket today. Come join us.
The fire marshal is already nervous because this event is going to be so fire, it's not even funny.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that was bad. That was bad. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, it's fire. Oh, my goodness. Okay, now I'm thinking Sweet Brown. Do you remember that meme? Oh, Lord Jesus, there's a fire.
I do remember Sweet Brown, yeah. That was a good time of YouTube during that time.
It was. It was. All righty, Spiro Sync. Check it out. Just go to spiro.media, and yeah, we'd love to see you there. Last year's event was, well, I guess it's still this year's event. It was fantastic, and just really enjoyed meeting everybody.
Also, if you're looking for another event, we will be there, the Rep Conference, Eli Jones and team. Come out to Orlando this year. They're allowing me to MC the event again. I can't wait to host it and see you all. It's going to be a fabulous time. Just search for the Rep Conference. That's Rep with 2 Ps. That's another one, all at the same place. Going to have great speakers, breakout sessions, lots of food and activities in sunny Orlando in November. So that's looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be a great time. A different vibe than Vegas. That should be cool.
Yeah, it's a welcome vibe. At least for me, it'll be fun. And yeah, lots to do in Orlando too. I don't know if there'll be any time. Maybe I'm going to stay an extra day, but lots to do there as well. Cool beans.
All right. Yep. Did I just really say that? Cool beans?
Craig, you're just on a roll today. The fire, the cool beans. I can tell you've been hanging out with someone that's 24.
24-year-olds do not say cool beans. Who are we kidding? I was in a grocery store about a year or two ago, and this worker, younger, probably young 20s, said, asked me how I'm doing, and I said peachy keen, and she stops and frowns and looks at me. She's like, "What did you say?" I said peachy keen. Just blank on her face, no comprehension as to what that. And I'm like, I'm too old. I'm too old.
Popped in her tracks.
Right. Had no clue what that phrase even was. Anyway. All right. So speaking of generation gaps and age differences and training new employees, new team members, new contractors, whatever form that you're bringing new photographers in, Todd, we thought we'd share some stories from the field on training new photographers and just some of the experience I've had and recently, and it's been fun. I've been having some fun and really excited about the future of our market here in my market.
Yeah, Craig, bringing a photographer, bringing anyone onto your team is a big decision. And I know for me, when I think way back of getting more photographers, it was always like, well, can I support them?
Yeah.
I'm typically thinking about hiring someone is coming from a stage of being a bit overwhelmed because you try to throw it on your own schedule. And then, all of you are very high capable people. So you can do a lot, but you eventually hit a point where you're like, there's not enough hours in the day, and you become unhappy and you're like, I just need some help. And so that transition, that's a big one for all of us. Even if you've done this many times, we have 30-something photographers in the field. Every time we bring something on, it's like, okay, we need to really think about how this individual can affect the team, what they're able to do. And if it's a good fit, I think back to some of the photographers I hired, Craig. A lot of them. One was my best friend, college roommate, worked part time in the summer. Other ones were acquaintances that I knew. They're all people I knew, and I kind of tried to fit it in. And I always tried to fit it into a part time capacity because I just didn't feel like I wanted that commitment of a full time. And then also with this idea of like, W-2 versus 1099
Right.
and, what is all this stuff? So this is a time that not only are you probably stressed out and overworked, but it's this time that you're going into that it's like, oh my goodness, like I've got to do something that seems like it could be a big commitment, could cost me maybe too much money. What are all the legalities of it? And then I have to tell the person what to do. So we just thought we'd share some stories today to look back over the years to share with you. And we have a great example currently where Craig is now getting a photographer in his market. Now, Craig, this is, maybe you could give some backstory because this is, even if you want to go back to C, because you had some help when you had your own business and you haven't had help for a while. It's been growing and it's like, we couldn't find someone. So, maybe a little backstory as to bringing someone on yourself.
Yeah. So going back to when I had my own business, yeah, I started with one client, Todd, and for a while I was fine just shooting and doing everything myself. But I found that business was growing quickly, and I realized to be able to serve clients in a timely manner and get them scheduled fast enough, I was going to have to bring on somebody new. And I got really lucky. I'm gonna be transparent. I got lucky with the two people I hired, one after another. One was the daughter of a former manager of mine, actually. That made me feel old. That she was going into media and I think copywriting and marketing, just that whole field, but also loved photography. And she just had a great personality. For me, what I look for first is personality and their ability to interact well with our clients, right? Realtors are, they rightfully so, very picky on who they choose to be parts of their team. And those people have to represent them well in a job. I feel like basic real estate photography, we can teach composition and the technical skills, things like that. But personality and the ability to get along with other people, that's a little bit more challenging. So I looked for personality first. And this daughter of my former manager just had a fantastic personality, very sweet person, talkative, easygoing, hard worker, very conscientious. And that's the type of responsibility I was looking for. And I had the added benefit of she understood basic photography. So training was not really difficult. And I ended up hiring her and she did fantastic. Got good reviews, from clients on her. Got to the point, she stuck with me, I think it was about a year.
Okay.
But she had graduated from college by then. She was moving into her career. So she did end up having to move on, which I was bummed because I liked her as a teammate. And then I had to find somebody else. And that came through a referral from a client of mine. Actually, my very first client referred this young guy that was at his church that ran camera. Ended up hiring him. I'm doing the Cliff Notes version of this. Do they still have Cliff Notes? Is that still a thing anymore?
I think it is. Yeah, you're current on that, Craig.
I don't know. Leave a comment. Those of you younger, is there still Cliff Notes? Anyway, Cliff Notes version, I end up hiring him. He technically, his work, his composition, good, solid work. But what I found was, even though he was a super nice kid, I'm going to call him a kid, young man, he was quiet. And the feedback I got from clients was that he was quiet and they weren't sure how to take him. And that made them feel a little uncomfortable. And I'm like, interesting. I liked him because I thought he was very polite, he was very professional. But yeah, he was quiet. And I learned that realtors liked a personality that is warm and somewhat talkative, but not overly talkative. And the quiet that's the most feedback I got, was they didn't like that he was so quiet, which I thought, interesting. Because I think a lot of realtors are probably extroverted by nature, and they're looking for that same type of energy to be a part of their team. Now, that being said, I'm an introvert, but I've learned how to be extroverted when I need to be. So, yeah, those were my first two hires when I had my own business. Again, both provided great work. The quality was good. I never really had a concern with that. But personality seemed to be the difference maker.
Interesting. Couple just quick questions on that, Craig. Thinking back, so personality, you realize that the second individual was, just being introverted.
Mm-hmm.
Was there, did you do any training with him, or was that were you able to help him with any scripting, or was it just like, hey, we'll just use him on some, lower end shoots, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to train on how I had conversations with clients. What you say in introducing yourself when you walk up to the front door, how to set expectations, all things that actually I had learned from Wow. Just when I first got into this industry, I tried to replicate that. Even tried to train on things that I would say that I felt kind of set me apart with how I interacted with both realtors and sellers. Telling the seller, "Hey, you made a great choice in choosing so and so as your realtor. They're going above and beyond and doing these marketing services for you." Little tricks like that to help win the realtor's confidence and wanting. What I was trying to do was get the realtor to want to use the other photographer and be comfortable with using the other photographer,
Right.
and
Yeah.
not just me. So I did try to train on that, but one took to it more than the other did. And
Yeah.
I think that was just related to personality, and it might have been they were both similar in age, but one just maybe a little bit more confident than the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. With
Yeah.
with your first individual, did you think about potentially, maybe was there an option to make C imaging her career, or was her career just something different? She was ready to move on.
I think she was looking ultimately for something different.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, she was more into copywriting, but loved the creative in general, but her passion, I think, was more copywriting and
Yeah.
more marketing in general, not photo specific. Perhaps there would have been something more for her, but this is where the difference between you and I came in, where I was not as interested in growing my company large and becoming the owner slash manager and not shooting as much. I enjoy shooting too much. I like the hands on too much, and didn't want to grow into that 35,000 foot view owner where I still wanted my hands in it. So I wasn't looking to grow C imaging to the scale that, say, Wow has grown.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I can think back to times of when it's why the individuals I hired. Ryan was a school teacher. He could help me in the summers. I was busy in the summers. It was like a no-brainer. Like, he was going to do something. Was he going to go work at a golf course, or was he, and it's just so happened to fit in well. So I definitely feel you on that. And I think our listeners out there, I think it's natural to feel the same thing. It takes baby steps of doing things in your business to feel comfortable. Like, I always use the example of our credit card bill. Okay. So credit card bill, when I was young, if I had a $300 credit card bill, it's like, what the heck did I buy? Now, you pay cash for more things back then, but it's like, if I have a $50,000 credit card bill at Wow in a month, it's like, okay, that's the credit card bill. It's like, what do we spend $50,000 on? You become, it's just not numb, but you become more used to these numbers growing larger. And now with budgeting, and we talked about finances last week. So if you're like, hey, my finances are in order, go back to last week and look at finances, but you plan for these things. But I think my point is you have to take steps to learn these things. Craig, you probably learned that hiring a college student that was in, year 3 or 4 is going to help, but maybe from a long-term solution, it's not a long-term solution. And the same thing with you learn the second individual being introverted. It's like, I really love him. He's great, but there's probably a reason why he's behind the camera at the back of church, and like
Right.
not out in front of people. So, and I can tell you countless story after countless story after countless story as the things that we learn to kind of adapt to find better people as we grew our business.
In my case with Tony that we just brought on, it's been since last April of 25, that I've not had another photographer in my market. And it's for one reason or another, but I think part of it is we've been a little bit more specific in what we're looking for and who we know we need in terms of their personality and natural inclinations and things like that. And so it's taken longer, but I think this is going to, that selectivity, is that the right word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
I think is going to pay off because I'm seeing a lot of positives already that she's just naturally inclined towards, and I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, I am as well, but we learned a lot during this process, Craig.
Absolutely.
We tried to approach your market, and your market it proved to be different than every one of our markets. We took our model, we took our job description, we took our payout, we took everything. We posted it just like we do in all the other markets in your market, and we just got nothing for a long time. And so we made some changes because I guess from my perspective, sitting with Steve and Jess and like analyzing like of how busy you were, where numbers were at, where they were growing, not being able to spend time back with the clients, doing the BDS role, your business development specialist role. We said as a leadership team, like we need to do something different to support Craig. Why are we not getting people to say yes, like we are in other areas? And then we took that information in and we changed what this position looked like.
So can I ask you what did you as the leadership come to conclude that was different about this market, and then the changes that you had to make for that?
Yeah. So what was different? I'm not quite sure because it's a large market. We have quite a few cities to pull from to get individuals. Why it didn't work, I'm not sure. But I know when we changed it to being a few different things, it then worked.
Okay. All right.
That's a terrible answer.
It's an honest answer.
Well, I guess why? Do you have any insight as to why? Like, are you guys just drinking different water up there, or what's going on?
Well, we are closer to Flint, Michigan. So anyway, if you're not in the area, you might not get that, but Flint had a water quality problem. Anyway, sorry, Flint, if you're listening. No, I don't know that I even really know the difference. My market is smaller than our three larger markets by quite a bit, but kind of similar to our main hub where WOW is headquartered. But it's a newer market than where we're headquartered as well. So we're not quite as big even as our main hub that we're centered out of. I think there's maybe a smaller talent pool, and I think there's a little bit of nervousness around being a contractor and not having that guarantee of a certain amount of income, and or having to have the initial cash layout of the equipment that's needed for the work that we do. I know for myself, when I first got into this, financially I'm kind of conservative on spending money, and I was nervous about making the purchases that I needed to get into this field of work. The drone being the biggest example that I remember sticking out. I was like, do I really want to spend that much money on a drone? And actually, I even had this conversation with Tony, our new photographer, because she asked how much drones were, and I gave her a ballpark, and she's like, yeah, I'd be afraid to spend that. And so I think it's just that fear element of the initial cash layout of getting into it and not having the guarantee necessarily of a certain amount of work. and maybe just the mentality of the market that I'm in, being more blue collar and a little bit more cautious with finances and things. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing here, Todd.
Yeah. That's the variable we changed, Craig,
Mm-hmm.
and we were able to find someone. So we
Yeah.
we took the position from a contractor position where they're having to supply their own equipment. They're, if they don't have it, they're buying that up front. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's no guarantee. Like, they're going to get jobs, and they'll get more jobs as they get better, but it's
Yeah.
on them.
Right.
And to make sure that they control kind of their destiny, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had heard that enough of finding good people and them going, just a bit uneasy. Like, and I actually took a job somewhere, like a W-2 position somewhere else.
Yeah.
That, we just determined as a team that it was time for us as the company, because it was time for us to step up and change something in this market rather than do nothing.
Right.
Like, kind of the cost of doing nothing was greater than doing something. And that's typically when we change as humans.
That sounds familiar. We might have talked about that before, once or twice.
Yeah. And also I'll say, as we analyze this, it was more than just what will we pay for a 1099 versus a W-2. I get this question probably weekly, honestly, on a coaching call or in a group or in a forum of like, why did we choose 1099? And I'm just like, hey, transparently, I chose 1099 when I started because I was 20-something-year-old and I didn't know what it meant to have an employee. And now we've built everything around contractors, and there's pros and cons of having contractors, but there's pros and cons of having employees too. And at the point of business for us, we went, hey, let's just, if somebody wants to know that they have X amount of hours per week and they're going to make this much per year, let's just do that, because the cost of not doing that, honestly, it's pretty close to 1099. It really is. And we have control over this person. We say when they work, we say when they don't work, they have to submit for PTO. But also on top of that was the fact that, like, one, the market couldn't grow anymore.
Yeah.
Two, it was a bit of a demotivator for you, Craig, because it's like, like we heard enough times, like, hey, I just feel like I'm not taking care of my clients enough. That's like, we need to do something so Craig can spend more time doing the sales and the outreach role, and he'll feel better about it. We'll grow the market. So there was a lot of variables that were involved, but we just felt like it was on us now as a team to say, let's just do what's needed so that we can see how it grows.
Yeah. And I can tell you, having hired who we have now, and the hope that I've got and the enthusiasm I see in this new person, it's reignited a passion for me I'm looking forward to the slow season for the first time in a while, because I'm not going to just be trying to contact past and current clients and just check in with them and maybe talk about a few new products or services that we have to offer. But I'm fired up now again to ask for referrals and to find new business and new clients that we can introduce ourselves to and get to know them and their needs. And I haven't done that for a while, because I've told Chris and Steve, our sales manager and our director of sales and marketing, I got to the point, Todd, just full transparency, where I told them outright, I said, I'm not prospecting new business. I'm at capacity. I've already got clients that are contacting other companies because we're too far booked out and they can't get us booked soon enough. And I don't want to bring on new clients and have them have that bad experience of not being able to schedule us when they need. So the fact that now we have somebody and we've built in now additional capacity where we're going to be able to respond faster, I've gotten excited again about my BDS role and going out and finding new business, which, a lot of people might say, well, cold calling, I don't like that. And I agree, Todd. I'm not a big cold caller either. However, when you've built enough relationships in an industry or in a market, and you're confident in the market, in the service and the product that you provide, and you believe in it, which I do. I know this is a needed product and service, and it's something I enjoy doing. I have no problem talking to new people about what we do and how we can help. if they're looking for help. And that's kind of how I couch it. Are you looking to grow? What are your marketing goals? Is there an opportunity for us to help you? Here's some of what we do, and here's who we've helped.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, with all of those factors rolled into one, even if I get a no, it doesn't hurt like it used to. And again, knowing that I've got new capacity with a new team member that is excited about joining our team and wants to help grow the business, and we're going to work together to grow it, it's just reignited me. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I love hearing that, Craig. And, as the owner of the business, now this is kind of cool because we're getting both hats, in here. That like, my first gut instinct when you said that was we moved too slow. Like we should have made this decision months ago, if not a year ago. It was kind of like, I think of an expression, we were stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Interesting.
And I think that that's good for all of us to analyze. Like maybe you're not trying to hire right now, but there's probably a good chance in your business you have MacGyvered something together and it's working in quotes, but it's not really working towards your goal. Like we want to grow the Toledo market, Craig's market. What are we thinking? Like, it's just Craig. Yeah, we send some support up from other cities here and there, but how can you, like, this was like made on like balsa wood. This is like a balsa wood foundation. Remember those in shop class, and you'd make balsa wood towers and hang weights from them. Like that's what we were doing. Like it was going to crumble at some point. And from a perspective, like potentially we would have de-incentivized Craig enough that he would have just looked for something else and left. Like there's all these things that could have happened.
Yeah.
And there's been times before as I look back to other employees, and Craig, you're a fabulous communicator. So you would come to us like you voiced that to Chris about like, hey, I just don't feel comfortable even going after new because we're losing because we're too busy.
Yeah.
So it's like, what signals in your business are you missing right now because you're focused on something different, that this one little, it might be a soft little signal coming in and it might seem real polite and real kind, but there's a good chance that your employees, your clients are trying to tell you something right now that you're missing out on. And if you miss out on that long enough, it might be detrimental to your business.
It can be hard to see the forest through the trees when you're in the thick of it, though. Just to be fair to the leaders, to leadership. Leadership is not easy.
Well, thank you, Craig, for that.
We give each other grace, right? And my perspective, yes, I was a little frustrated, just real talk here, but I also understood we serve markets a whole lot bigger than the one I serve in. I mean, what we do as a company with the kind of the relatively small staff that we have, I think is pretty amazing. Just the systems that have been built that have allowed us to serve the number of clients that we do is pretty incredible. And I know the load, having been in leadership myself, I know the load that leadership has in trying to set a vision and make sure, all cylinders are firing correctly. And it's hard. So I've got kind of a built-in empathy for leadership because I've been in it myself before, that I think allowed me to be patient and know that I know leadership will get to that point where we're able to solve the issue that I'm facing in my market. I just have to be patient, keep doing the best job I can with what I've got, the time I've got, the resources I've got locally, and just continue to serve our clients as well as I can and hold on and retain the business that we have long enough that we can then get this addressed and inject some new excitement and new opportunities for current and future clients, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, and I appreciate that, Grace. And I think if you're out there listening, this is something that having the right culture, we talk about culture a lot, really will, extend this grace when it's needed. And it's co-collaborative as well. If Craig would have just kept his feelings to himself and never mentioned things, like it went from Chris to Steve, and I don't know that I can remember hearing that. But Steve, when he was like, hey, we just need to hire someone and just like, I can't get a 1099. It's like, fine, hire a W-2. You'll get there eventually. It's all a team effort. So that is just, the benefit of focusing on some of your culture. And when you have good people, it's really easy to hit your goals and do what you need to do.
Speaking of culture and kind of getting back to the day-to-day and stories from the field, part of what I've been talking with Tony, our new hire, about is culture. I've only covered one point, and it's our number one value, that our clients are our number one priority. And so what I've done a lot in talking with her about is how I approach that value in serving the clients in our market. And just an admission, I thought I screwed up on a job where we left a job that was kind of out on the fringe of our service area. And I didn't remember locking the front door because we went out the side garage door. And I asked Tony, I said, do you remember if I locked that door? And she's like, I don't. And I had another job on the other side of our service area. It's just, oh yeah. And I told her, I said, I'm going to drop you off after this job. I'm going to go do this job on the western side. And Tony, this is part of the job and part of what I would expect as the BDS taking care of this area. I have a responsibility to make sure that house is secure. I can't remember for sure if I locked it or not, and I don't have anybody I can contact locally to go check it for me. I'm going to drive back out there, even though it's going to get me home late. I'm going to have to work late to upload. And I'm not doing this to toot my own horn, but talking about values. This is the value I've caught from our leadership and our company is our clients are our number one priority. I have a responsibility to take care of that client and make sure that that new construction house is secured. I drove back out there, and Todd, this is part of turning 50, I think. I walked in, the door was locked. I was fine. I had taken care of it. All I could do was laugh at that point. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have a nice country drive back home and enjoy the quiet evening. It is what it is. I'll sleep in maybe a little bit the next morning. But I had to make sure that I took care of that client and that I took care of my responsibility of securing that home and communicating that to Tony and showing her, hey, I screwed up, but here's how I'm going to fix it. And here's how I'm going to take care of the client and live out that value. This is what's expected. You're going to make mistakes. We all do. How are we going to take care of living up to that value that we have? It's going to take some extra effort. So she got to see a real life example of somebody trying to live that value out. It was painful to me personally, but I suck it up because that's part of what we do. That's part of who we are.
Yeah, Craig, that's a great example of modeling. And in that, it was modeling with an explanation, of like, hey, this is core value number one. And you did a fabulous job doing that. And you went and did the hard work. I will say, also remember, like there is modeling 100% of your day. No matter what you're doing, your employees are always looking to you as to what are you modeling. So, there might be some times where you're grumpy or it's just tough to be the owner. In those times, watch what you do and make sure that you abide by what you say you want them to do. You don't get a free pass to break rules just because you're the owner. That is one way to break down culture that it's hard to get back once you do that.
Can I share another story since we're doing stories from the field and training and modeling? So I don't know what happened to me yesterday, Todd, but I was a little grumpy yesterday.
Okay.
And Tony is with me, and we had a seller that I'll summarize it this way. I don't think the seller trusted that we knew what we were doing.
Okay.
Okay. Because this seller was going through every little detail of how we should shoot this house. Make sure you focus on the primary bedroom. And I'm thinking, do you know how long I've done this? And I understand that primary bedrooms are one of the most important things. Of course, I'm going to focus on the primary bedroom. And it has a big walk-in closet. It's not like many closets you've ever seen. True when I walked into it, but I have shot closets like it before. And of course, I'm going to take extra shots of this amazing, massive, ridiculous closet that you have. And it was thing after thing after thing. And I had told Tony the day before, there's going to be days you're not in a great mood. It happens to me. You got to smile and suck it up, no matter how moody you might be. Well, yesterday was my moody day. And I did my best. And afterwards, Tony was like, I could tell you were irritated. I don't know if she could tell, but I'm like, yeah, but I tried my best just to still smile and and nod. She goes, yeah, you did. You did. So she got to see Craig irritated, but she saw that I tried my best to be amiable and, you know, not be an embarrassment to the agent and not be irritated with the seller. And I even went through and showed the seller some of the shots that we got just to kind of reassure, because I could tell she was nervous and she wanted the best for her property, right? We understand that. A house is usually somebody's biggest investment, and they need to get what they can out of it.
Right.
And we have to understand the psychology of that. No matter, I don't know what was causing my grumpiness. I stayed up late editing a podcast actually, and I think that's what it was. It's just I stayed up too late. Um, but Tony got to see me model. I honestly was in a little bit of a grumpier mood than what's normal for me, but how I tried to work through that, because I told her when I worked in radio, my boss taught me this. If you're in a grumpy mood, you still have to smile when you talk because people can hear a smile.
Yes.
And if it's visual, they're going to see if you're irritated or not. And so I was doing my best to, if you're listening, you can't see it, but
or you're like grinding your teeth. Is that a smile?
Right. So, so Tony got to see Craig in a slightly grumpy and irritable mood, but doing his best to not let that show to the client and still serve the client well and represent the realtor really well. And it was not easy, Todd, but modeling for our new hires is critically important.
So some things we've learned, Craig. One, we've learned that as you hire people, you learn to hire different people. We've given you some clues of who maybe not to hire and how to hire. I will say that there is no perfect recipe. So our recipe might not work for you. I think you just have to be open to feedback you're receiving. If you're not getting people interested in a job, you probably need to ask them why if you get like first call or second round interviews. And it's okay to ask someone like when they take another job and to tell you no, like, hey, what could we have done to be more competitive?
That's good.
They'll tell you that's great ways to learn and then just adapt from that. Fast forwarding through that hiring process, and I know we're leaving a lot out. This isn't so much the technicals of how to hire someone. These are just stories that we're going through with, the people that we've hired. You've given some great examples, Craig, as to like modeling in the field. Once you hire them, you get to training. So that's how we're training. What is our, what are you seeing with her and what is our goal? Because the goal is eventually that she's out on her own and doing that.
Yeah. Well, I've outright told her my goal is for current clients to like her better than they like me.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's tricky because there's a certain amount of pride in my work. Like I've worked very hard to build the business that I have up here and to get clients to like me, to use me, whatnot. And that's been both a good thing and it's been a challenge because now a lot of them don't want anyone but Craig shooting for them. I can't shoot for everybody and still do everything else that I'm responsible for. So I've outright told Tony, my goal is for our clients to like you better than they like me and to like your work better than they like my work. Not that I'm going to be slacking off on my work. I'm always going to give my best, but so I've just put it right out there to Tony of what my goal is. And that can be hard because sometimes it's hard to let go of control, right? I've worked hard. I've done this a number of years now, but I've got to be willing to step back and let a newer generation of photographers and videographers start taking over, but teach them what I've learned, over my time in doing this, and let them take the lead on that a little bit more, but teach them the values of why I do things the way I do. And that's actually something Tony gave me feedback on. She said, I really appreciate that you're giving me explanations on everything you're doing, the why, because I naturally ask why. I was that annoying kid in school that annoyed the crap out of my teachers and just asking, well, why?
Yeah.
She needs understanding. And I need to understand that's fair. Right? There does need to be understanding. And you're not going to get someone to buy into your values and your ethics and the why of what you do unless you explain it to them. So I've been very purposeful in trying to explain the why in my training and modeling beyond just the written documentation and the training videos that we have on how to do things. I've given her the psychology of how I've approached building this business, because she's going to be an integral part of growing the business in this market.
One thing I think of and hearing you say that, Craig, is that all just takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to kind of the setup of this, typically when you are hiring someone, you don't have any time.
No.
And you're stressed out. You know, that's one thing that I think I hear a lot from you that I talk to is like hiring is like the first step, but then you have to find the capacity to spend the time with these individuals. I've tried it before. I typically train like trial by fire, like get someone in, great, here's 3 paragraphs and some fragmented sentences for me about what to do. Please go and do it now and don't mess up. I had a bad first working with that, right? It was good for me, bad for my expectations, because Ryan, who I had trained, who best friend, went to college together, like he was there before I started the business. So just naturally, I'd talk about the business I started. He knew kind of everything. He was better than me. So like I was like, hey, Ryan, hey, I'm going on vacation next week. Here's these things. We're starting to use these Steadicam now. These Steadicams now. Can you let me show you how to balance it real quick? This was before motorized Steadicams. Like it was a counterbalance Steadicam. And can you please walk next week in some of these? And like I literally showed him for 10 minutes and he went and worked real hard and figured it out. But then he did it. And I was like, oh, this is great. It's going to be so easy to train people, because I literally have told Ryan 3 paragraphs and he's better than me now. I can tell you that doesn't work. So you're going to have to spend more time. Like all the things that the stories that Craig is telling right now, just spend the time with him. And it's going to hurt in the temporary, because you're like, I need all this other stuff and I can shoot this house in 20 minutes. But I'm in here for 45 or an hour because I'm teaching, but it will pay off in the end.
And that's what I've found myself fighting is I know she needs time. I remember when I first started, it took me a long time to shoot a house. And so I've got to go back in my memory banks and remember and just be patient and let them know that it's going to take time. That's the thing that she, like she's said.
So tell them that, like, tell them it's okay to take time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because she made the comment, I know this is probably frustrating you because it's taken me so long. I'm like, no, it's not frustrating. It is, but it isn't. I was honest with her. It is, but it isn't. But it's only frustrating because yes, I've done this since, I've done this now for 7 years or so. And it just gets to be muscle memory. But when I started, I took a long time. So no, it's okay. Now, yes, we have to keep moving because we have appointments after this. But say my last appointment of the day, I had her shoot. We don't have anything after this.
Nice.
If the agent and the seller are okay with us taking a little bit longer, we'll explain that you're training. And that's what happened. No problem. Take the time you need. You need reps. She's into working out. She's talked about sets and reps. I said, it's just like you're working out. You only get bigger and stronger with the more reps and time that you put into working out. It's the same thing with handling a new camera and lens. You're only going to get better and stronger and faster with reps. So let's get the camera in your hand as soon as we can, and we'll take the time that we need to correct what we need to correct and clean up what we need to clean up. But don't worry about the time. We're headed into slow season where we're getting plenty of time anyway.
And that's a great way to train someone, is to take off that weight of expectation.
Yeah.
There's always a weight of expectation from you as the owner out there. And it exists even if you think it doesn't exist. Like I always like, hey, I don't really like, I'm a fun guy sometimes. And I'm really putting pressure. And like, I heard so many employees be like, hey, I just want to do whatever you need to make you happy. I want to take this off your plate. I'm like, wait a minute. I just want to do what you would do. I'm like, and so you have that influence. And I just work nowadays like, hey, I don't want you to do what I do. I trust you. You're in your position to do the duties because I trust that you have the ability to do them your way. And I'm okay if you screw them up. I know you'll make adjustments and you'll pivot, but I don't want you to do what will make Todd happy or the way Todd will do it. So I think modeling that when you're in the field and letting them know it's okay to take time, because people put sometimes unrealistic expectations on themselves.
Fair enough. Well, I hope these real life stories have kind of helped you maybe look at your own process and just kind of reevaluate and what's going to work best for you, how to work with new people in your team, and breathe a little bit. It's okay. You'll get through it, right? I'm not sure how else to wrap it up, Todd.
Yeah, well, why don't we do this? We'll continue to give some small little updates from here on out. This is a real life thing that's happening right now. Craig, you've spent a week or two with her, correct? And
about a week and a half. Yeah,
a week and a half. Okay, so we'll be at 2.5 weeks on next podcast, and we'll keep you a day in the life of Craig and the new photographer. And if you have questions in the meantime, you can email us hello@spiro.media. If you're watching this on YouTube, post them below. We'll get to them, and we'll be happy to share it on our update over the next coming weeks.
Sounds good. Todd, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for another episode this week. We hope it was beneficial to you. We are going to be hitting, I believe in the next couple of weeks, a question that was asked on the YouTube channel. If you do have topics that you'd like to see us cover, if possible, related to the business of real estate media, please drop us a note. You can either email us hello@spiro.media or feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well. You could also even use the pink chat bubble if you're a Spiro user. Send a message that way. The team will make sure that Todd or I get that. And we would love to provide content that's going to really benefit you and your business. So thank you again for taking the time. Remember to take a breath and just be thankful for the blessings in your life. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.